I gripped the dining table as my sister laughed in my face 6 hours after I'd wired $20,000 for this reunion. "We already had it yesterday," she said, phone still in her hand, showing family photos I wasn't in. Dad shrugged from his chair like I was nothing. Mom turned away. My chest burned as I pulled out my laptop right there and reversed the bank transfer, my fingers shaking but steady enough. The room went silent. Then my phone buzzed with a message I'd been waiting for, and I smiled for the first time that day. They didn't know what I knew. They thought I was still the doormat daughter who paid their mortgages, who covered Dad's gambling debts, who sent Mom to Hawaii twice while I ate ramen in my studio apartment. But 3 weeks ago, someone had sent me an envelope, unmarked, with documents inside that made my blood run cold. I hadn't opened it in front of anyone. I'd spent every night since then making calls, checking records, building something they couldn't escape from. And now, watching them stare at my phone like it might explode, I realized they suspected. Good, let them sweat. "What's that?" Dad asked, his voice harder now, not the dismissive tone from seconds ago. I locked my screen and slid the phone into my pocket, meeting his eyes with something I'd never given him before. Silence that said I was done explaining myself. My sister Sarah shifted in her designer heels, the ones I'd bought her last Christmas. "Come on, don't be dramatic," she said, forcing a laugh that sounded brittle. "We forgot to text you about the date change. It happens." I looked at the empty table where no food sat, the living room behind them spotless like no party had happened. They'd lied so carelessly they hadn't even bothered with the convincing cover. I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back. My brother Tom walked in from the kitchen, beer in hand, freezing when he saw my face. "Oh shit," he muttered. "She knows." That made Sarah spin toward him, her expression cracking. "Knows what?" she hissed. But Tom kept staring at me, his face pale. I pulled the envelope from my bag, the one I'd carried like a grenade for weeks, and placed it on the table between us. It was thick, worn at the edges from how many times I'd opened and closed it, reading every page until I'd memorized the words. Dad's eyes locked onto it. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. "Don't," Dad said, his voice low, threatening. The same tone he'd used when I was 12 and asked why Grandma's house had my name on the deed but I'd never seen it. I'd learned back then not to question him. But I wasn't 12 anymore. I was 31, exhausted, and holding proof that they'd stolen from me for over a decade. The envelope sat there like a living thing, and I watched them all lean away from it instinctively, like it could bite. "We can explain," Mom started, but I raised my hand and she stopped. Actually stopped, because something in my face told her I was past listening. "Explain what?" I asked softly. "That Grandma left me her estate and you forged my signature to sell it? That you've been pocketing the rental income from properties I legally own? Or maybe you want to explain why I've been sending you money every month while you took $200,000 that was mine?" My voice stayed calm, steady, but my heartbeat hammered in my ears. Sarah's mouth opened and closed. Tom set his beer down like it weighed 100 pounds. Dad stood up fast, his chair screeching, and pointed at me with a finger that shook. "You have no proof," he said. I smiled then, cold and sharp. "That envelope has copies. My lawyer has the originals." The room erupted. Sarah lunged for the envelope, but I snatched it back, holding it above my head like we were kids fighting over a toy. Except this wasn't a game, and we both knew it. "You vindictive bitch," she snarled, her face twisted into something ugly. "We're family. You don't sue family." I laughed, a sound that came out harsh and unfamiliar. "You're right," I said. "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. So what does that make you?" Tom tried to step between us, his hands up in a peacemaking gesture I'd seen 1,000 times. "Let's all calm down," he said, but his eyes kept darting to Dad, looking for direction like he always did. "Did you know?" I asked Tom directly, and he flinched. "Did you know they sold Grandma's house and kept the money?" His silence answered me. I felt something inside crack, something I'd held together with hope that maybe one of them loved me without conditions. You all knew, I whispered. Every single one of you. Mom finally spoke, her voice thin and reedy. It was for the family, she said. We needed it. Your father's business, Sarah's divorce, Tom's medical bills, we used it for important things. I stared at her. This woman who'd taught me to say please and thank you, who'd braided my hair before school and felt nothing but a hollow ache where love used to be. I have medical bills too, I said quietly. I've been in therapy for anxiety for 5 years, paying out of pocket because I couldn't afford insurance. I worked 2 jobs to send you money because you said you'd lose the house. Which house, Mom? The one you bought with my inheritance? Her face crumpled, but I didn't stop. I ate rice and beans for months. I didn't go to the dentist for 3 years. I skipped my best friend's wedding because I couldn't afford the plane ticket after I sent Dad $3,000 for his emergency surgery that I now know never happened. Dad's jaw clenched. Watch your mouth, he growled. Or what? I shot back, my voice rising finally, all the controls snapping. You'll cut me off? Disown me? You already did that. You just forgot to tell me. I slammed the envelope on the table and it made a sound like a gunshot in the silent room. I filed a lawsuit this morning. Fraud, forgery, theft. My lawyer says we have enough to press criminal charges. Sarah's face went white. You wouldn't? She breathed. I met her eyes. These people I'd shared a childhood with, fought with over toys and bathrooms, and who got the last slice of pizza, and felt the weight of every sacrifice I'd made for them turn to stone in my chest. I already did, I said. The police are reviewing the case. My lawyer expects arrests within the week. Tom actually staggered, grabbing the counter. You're sending Dad to jail? He asked, voice breaking. Over money? I wanted to scream that it wasn't about money, that it was about them erasing me, using me, making me feel worthless while they smiled and took everything I had. But I just shook my head. I'm holding you accountable, I said. There's a difference. Dad moved toward me fast, and I stepped back, my spine hitting the wall. You ungrateful, he started, but stopped when I pulled out my phone and held it up, recording. Say it on camera, I told him, my hand surprisingly steady. Tell me again how I'm ungrateful for not letting you steal from me. He froze, his face purple with rage, veins standing out on his neck. Mom started crying, loud theatrical sobs I'd heard 100 times when she wanted something. How can you do this to us, she wailed, after everything we've done for you? I almost laughed again, but I was too tired. Everything you've done to me, I corrected. There's a difference. I grabbed my bag, shouldering past Tom, who didn't try to stop me. At the door, I turned back one last time. They stood there, these people who'd shaped my entire world, who I'd loved desperately and tried endlessly to please, and they looked small suddenly, pathetic. Dad's anger, Mom's tears, Sarah's shock, Tom's confusion, none of it touched me anymore. The rental properties revert to me once the lawsuit completes, I said. My lawyer says 3 months, maybe 4. Until then, every dollar you took is documented. I hope it was worth it. Sarah found her voice finally. You'll regret this, she spat. You'll be alone. No one will want you after you turn on your family like this. I smiled, and this time it felt real. I've been alone for years, I said. I just didn't realize it until now. I walked out into the cold evening air, my car parked at the curb under a streetlight. Behind me, I heard shouting, something crashing, maybe a glass or a plate. I didn't turn around. My phone buzzed again, my lawyer confirming the paperwork had been filed with the court, the process server scheduled for tomorrow morning. I sat in my car for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, waiting for regret or grief or something heavy to crush me. Instead, I felt light, emptied out, free. I started the engine and drove away from that house for the last time, watching it shrink in my rearview mirror until it disappeared completely. 3 months later, I got the call. The judge had ruled in my favor. Full restitution, properties transferred back to my name, and Dad facing criminal charges he'd eventually plead down to probation and community service. Sarah stopped speaking to me entirely. Tom sent one text asking if we could talk, which I deleted. Mom left voicemails I never listened to. I sold Grandma's house and 2 of the rental properties, paid off my debts, and bought a small place by the coast where I could hear the ocean from my bedroom window. Some nights, I wondered if I'd done the right thing, if family was supposed to be forgiven no matter what. Then I'd remember the way they'd laughed when they told me I'd missed the reunion, and I'd know the answer. I built a life without them, slowly, carefully, with people who saw me as more than a checkbook, and I never looked back. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have filed charges against your own family or tried to work it out privately?